All right, testing. Is my audio coming through okay? Testing. Is my audio coming through okay? Yes, testing. Is my audio coming through okay? Is it clear? Is the volume okay? Yes, looks like we're good. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jessica Kiko, and I'm the Director of New Americans Initiatives at the Massachusetts Immigrant and Refugee Advocacy Coalition, MIRA. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome each and every one of you here today to our Fall Speaker Series event, Reducing Barriers to Citizenship. It's wonderful to see so many friends here, and for those of you that may be new to MIRA, we are the largest immigrant and refugee advocacy organization in New England. We've been on the front lines for 33 years, supporting and promoting immigrant rights and immigrant inclusion. In Massachusetts alone, thousands of people become US citizens every year, including more than 17,000 so far in 2020. Becoming a citizen is one of the greatest sources of pride for many immigrants. But applying for and obtaining citizenship is no easy process. And so today I will talk to you about the ins and outs of becoming a US citizen and how MIRA's citizenship program can help. We're also going to hear from a former MIRA client, Delis, who has agreed to share her story with us today, as well as the story of her family's path to citizenship. We encourage you all to participate by asking questions and using the chat box, and we'll try to address as many questions as we can. So let me start us off by sharing a little bit about the benefits and challenges of citizenship. There are an estimated 9 million green card holders around the country who are eligible to apply for citizenship, and more than 200,000 in Massachusetts. The benefits of citizenship are many. On a very practical level, they include the ability to travel more freely, to help more close family members immigrate, and many times to be able to do so more quickly. And children that are living with their parents, when their parents naturalize and become US citizens, often automatically become citizens themselves. But the benefits also include kind of greater economic mobility. There was one study that found a near 9% boost in individual earnings when people naturalized. And of course, the ability to vote and participate in civic engagement more fully. The hurdles to becoming a US citizen, however, are also many. And we've seen the current administration try to make it even harder for people to take this final step. The process can take several months, and that timeline has grown even longer during the time of COVID. There's a 20-page application that is filled with legal jargon and detailed questions that must be filled out. And applicants also have to demonstrate a knowledge of English and pass a civics exam. As many of you probably heard, immigration just recently announced a new version of the civics exam just a couple of weeks ago. And this new version of the exam is going to be given to anyone who submits an application starting today, starting on December 1st. The test is changing not only in the number of questions that applicants have to prepare, increasing from 100 questions to 128 questions. And applicants will have to answer 20 questions, and out of those 20, get 12 correct, as opposed to what it is now, which is applicants are asked 10 questions and have to get 6 correct. But it's not just the number of questions that is changing. A lot of the new revised questions that were added to the test are more complex, both in the way that the questions are phrased, but also they are testing on more abstract concepts. And so they're just more difficult for individuals that have lower English proficiency levels. MIRA is working with partners around the country to oppose these changes, and we're hopeful that the incoming administration will reverse the change before it even really has an opportunity to take effect. Since the new test is only going to be for individuals who are applying starting today, and there's usually several months between when a person applies and when they're interviewed and have to take the exam, we have a few months to go yet before those changes would be taking effect. Another major hurdle that is faced by a lot of citizenship applicants is the application fee. Currently, the fee is $725, so already, a significant amount of money. And there was a fee hike, a fee increase that had been scheduled to go into effect on October 2nd, just a couple of months ago. And that would have increased the fee from $725 to $1,170. Not only that, but the new rule would have also eliminated fee waivers for the majority of applicants. So currently, applicants for citizenship can request a fee waiver, a request not to pay the application fee based either on their household income or by being able to show that they're receiving some kind of means-tested benefit. And the applicants also have the option of requesting a reduced fee. So all of those fee waivers and reduced fees would have been taken away by the new rule that was originally scheduled to go into effect in October. Thankfully, those changes were blocked by two different federal courts right before they would have gone into effect. And so individuals that are applying for citizenship now still are only subject to the $725 fee and are able to request a fee waiver or to pay the reduced fee if they otherwise qualify. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about MIRA's citizenship program. We've had a citizenship program since 2013. It's the only program through which we provide direct legal services. We conduct outreach in communities. Obviously, pre-pandemic, this looked a little bit differently. We would go out into communities, do a lot of kind of door-to-door down Main Street, and share information about the citizenship process and how MIRA can help. Right now, that outreach is largely virtual, but we're also excited to share that we're in the process of launching our very first Citizenship Ambassador program, through which we will be training our first cohort of citizenship ambassadors who will spread the word about the benefits of citizenship in their communities and connect community members with resources, including MIRA. Every year, our citizenship program screens hundreds of potential applicants. We assist individuals in submitting their applications, gathering all the documents that they need, requesting the fee waiver and gathering any documents they may need to show eligibility for the fee waiver. And then we accompany them throughout the process, letting them know when we receive notices for their fingerprinting appointment or for their interview, and provide them study resources to prepare for the English and civics exam as well. We also are able to help those whose children automatically become citizens obtain proof of citizenship. So every year we're able to submit a couple hundred applications a year. Before COVID, our work was largely done through large group processing clinics where we would bring together dozens of volunteers and clients in a joyful day and prepare dozens of applications at one go. Right now, we're continuing to offer our services, but we're doing so remotely. And so that means that a lot of our services are done one-on-one, over the phone, sometimes meeting up with clients briefly in the office to hand off documents. But we continue to very much see the need for services. We get lots of calls and email inquiries even during this time when everyone has just so much going on. So that's all I wanted to share with you. I'm happy to answer any questions folks may have about the process, who is eligible for citizenship. But first, I'd like to turn it over to Delis Ramazani, who's a former MIRA client. So over to you, Delis, to introduce yourself, and then I might ask you some questions.
Hello, everyone. My name is Delis Ramazani. I am a first-year student at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. I am a psychology and biology major on the pre-med track, and I migrated to the United States about 6 years ago, and yeah.
Great. Thanks so much, Delis. I'm wondering, can you share a little bit about what your family's journey was to find your way to Massachusetts?
Okay, so I lived in Pretoria, South Africa, with my mom and my brother, and she was doing the process way before I like noticed, or way before I knew what was happening. I was going to school there, and she was mainly working hard, and the case took about 6 years to process for us to be able to travel from South Africa to here.
Can you tell me a little bit about why it was important to you and to the rest of your family members to become US citizens?
It was really important for us to become the U.S. citizens because of the racism and everything that's going on around the world right now. We just needed that sense of safety. We needed to have somewhere where we belong, somewhere where we felt comfortable, somewhere where we felt like we're at home since we left our home country and we were already here. So it was really important for my mom to get that sense of safety and sense of protection of being an American.
Can you tell me a little bit about how your life has changed since moving to the United States?
My life has changed tremendously, I would say, in terms of education, in terms of opportunities, and in terms of schooling. In South Africa, I never thought that I would be in college. I never thought I'd have the opportunity to study, or let alone be in a whole university in a dorm room. Like that was just not a dream. Whereas to here, as soon as we got here, I was able to really take off and study hard. While my mom worked also really hard to provide us with the materials we needed. And look at me now, I'm in a whole university, double majoring on my way to becoming a doctor.
Can you tell me a little bit about what the process was like for you to become a citizen? What did you think about it, and how did you feel while you were going through that process?
I personally had to apply 2 times. The first time I applied was through Mira again. It was an event they had held in Worcester, and it was me, my mom, and my brother. We all applied at the same time, but somehow my application didn't go through. Theirs did. So I was the last one to receive my citizenship recently. And my application was lost, so I had to redo that. It was a big packet. I had to redo that over and apply again for the second time. And my second time applying, I actually had to travel to Boston to do the application all over again. But Miro is really helpful in terms of clarifying the questions, in terms of like making it clear what the question is asking, and what you're expected to answer, what would be the right answer.
Um, did you get to vote this year?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell me what that was like? What did that feel like?
So I actually voted like a week after I got naturalized. So it was a very quick process for me, considering I had just gotten my citizenship and I was already in college. I was actually influenced by my friends here that I made here in college, and we all went out to vote together. And I had never voted before, so I didn't know what to expect. I just thought it would be like a multiple choice question where as to who do you want to be president. But it was actually those multiple questions, and you actually had to answer and like you know and it was really nice to feel like I was actually making a change, and I was actually using my voice for something important and for something positive.
And this is a little general, but do you feel different now that you're a citizen?
Like I said before, I feel that sense of safety, whereas to if anything is to happen to America right now, I would be counted as one of the Americans. I wouldn't be counted as a like an immigrant or a green card holder. Like I just have that sense of safety, that sense of like community that I have never had before.
Thank you so much. Is there anything that I didn't ask you about that you wanted to share?
Um, Not that I can think of at the moment, but everyone is free to ask me any questions.
Great. So let me see whether any questions have come through. There's a question about what it was like to actually go through the process, to interact with immigration, to go for your interview. What kind of interactions did you have? Did you feel that people were always trying to be helpful to you, or did you sometimes feel that there were roadblocks in that process, that people were trying to make that process more difficult than it needed to be?
Personally, I feel that the Mirror staff was really helpful in terms of reminding you about your appointments, in terms of keeping you on track. Like I personally got calls at least twice a week before my interview, and that was really helpful in terms of keeping me on track and reminding me that okay, this is an important step, and I really need to like get forward and get through it. I feel like the community was really there, and I had help and that everyone was really willing to help. Like I didn't have to seek much the help. Like it was there and offered to me when I needed it.
Thank you. And I see a question in the chat about our new Citizenship Ambassador program. So I'm happy to share a little bit more about that. This is the first year that Mira has been able to create a Citizenship Ambassador program. We're learning as we go, but we provided this opportunity for individuals who want to really spread the word about citizenship, provide information about the process, dispel any myths that might exist, provide information about things like the availability of fee waivers to individuals in their communities who might be eligible to naturalize, and help people connect to resources, whether it be Mira Citizenship Program or another legal services provider in their community that can assist them through the process. And so we are currently in the process of selecting our first Citizenship Ambassador cohort. We plan to have anywhere between 8 and 12 ambassadors from communities around the state, representing different linguistic and cultural communities as well. And we're going to be providing a series of trainings to our ambassadors, and also kind of provide a space for community, for them to share best practices in how they're reaching out and providing information in their own communities. So there's a question here for you, Delis, about the role that your mother played in the family, and kind of being the driving force to bring you and your brother to the United States and ultimately apply for citizenship. Can you share a little bit about your mom, talk about the work that she put into the process, and why it was important to her?
I would say her role was it was everything. It was the most important role in terms of where we are today. She has always been a hard worker, and she's always put in so much into making me and my brother the people that we are. So when it came to the citizenship process, she was the one finding out all the information. She was the one basically pushing us and making sure we're able to get where we are. She was working two jobs while maintaining a whole household, making sure both me and my brother are in school, both me and my brother are doing good at the universities that we were at. And I feel like her role is, I would not have been here without her, neither would my brother.
Yeah, she sounds incredible.
She is.
I see a question in the chat about how long the process can take. The process is taking longer right now during COVID, in part because there was a backlog that built up in March, April, through really June, when the immigration offices started to open back up here in Massachusetts. And also because due to social distancing requirements, fewer interviews can happen on any given day than they might have, that might have happened before COVID. Right now in the Boston office, I think processing times are about 8.5 to 9 months from beginning to end. So from the moment that an application is first received by immigration until the individual is called in for an interview, and then usually the oath ceremony takes place within a couple of weeks after that. There's another office in Lawrence, Massachusetts, that seems to be having slightly shorter timelines. Around the country, there are offices that are experiencing delays of a year or sometimes more. Delis, there's a question here for you about how school was different when you came to the United States. and what that adjustment was like for you.
So when I came to the United States, I spoke very little English. I wasn't proficient at all. I mean, I could maybe understand some, but I couldn't really read and write. So I had one of my teachers who really took her time to try to teach me and to try to get me as proficient as I could. She would give me books to read, and then like I would come to her during my lunch period or after school to read to her, and she would also speak to me and like try to teach me the language. In general, school was a little difficult the first year, but also after that, I picked up very quickly and I moved forward throughout my high school. I was proficient enough to speak, read, and write. I tried challenging myself. I took advanced placement classes throughout high school. I did dual enrollment classes to get me to college, and now I'm taking honor classes in college.
Good for you. That's quite the journey. Um, I see a question in the chat about what could impact the success or problems with a citizenship application going through. So, every application is different and every person's story and path to that moment is different. But generally speaking, the requirements to apply for citizenship successfully are the person has to be at least 18, have had a green card for 5 years, or 3 years if they've been married to a US citizen and living with that US citizen spouse during that time. And they can't have traveled and stayed outside of the country for too long periods of time. So those are sometimes the hurdles. Extended travel can be a problem. Length of residency can be an issue. And then, of course, as I mentioned, the English exam and the civics exams are both significant hurdles. So English exams, or the demonstrating the ability to read, write, and speak basic English, can be a hurdle, especially for people who, unlike Delis, immigrated a little bit later in life and therefore, may not have the benefit of full immersion in school, for example, to be able to work on their English. So there are some exemptions to the English language requirement for individuals based on age, but they require having had a green card for at least 15 or 20 years, depending on the person's age. So for a lot of folks who perhaps immigrated in their 40s or 50s, they might not be eligible for that exemption for a long time to come. I see another question in here. How we see large immigrant communities being affected by application delays and complications, and specifically in the South Coast, New Bedford, Fall River. I mean, the delays in the naturalization process, and I would say, and the delays in all immigration processing that have kind of been growing under the current administration, are impacting all immigrant communities, regardless of where they live. Certainly, some of those benefits of citizenship that I mentioned at the very beginning, the ability to travel without restriction, the ability to petition to help immigrate other close family members, not only your spouse and minor children, which you can do as a green card holder, but also your adult children, your married adult children, your aging parents, your siblings. So, there's kind of this ripple effect in delays that, the more you're delayed in receiving your citizenship, the more you might be seeing a delay in being reunited with families, for example. There was also a question in there about resources for the civics exam and for the English portion. The English portion of the test, and maybe Delisi can speak more to what your experience was with this, but it's largely done by reviewing the application together with the applicant. And so reviewing those questions and having the applicant confirm information and provide information. And then there are sentences that are essentially dictated to you to write down to test your ability to write English. The civics exam, the questions are posted on the USCIS website, on the website of the Immigration Office, the US Citizenship and Immigration Services, both for the current version of the exam as well as the new version of the exam. So those are specific questions with specific suggested answers that students can study to prepare. And there are a number of programs that offer citizenship preparation classes, who are, of course, right now trying to scramble and figure out how to prepare students for both the current version of the exam and the newer version of the exam to come. Great. Yeah, Delis, can you speak to what your interview experience was like?
Yes, I can. So my interview experience was actually in person. I went in, I had to keep my mask, and it felt more like a one-on-one conversation with my examiner. He made me feel really comfortable. He told me, shake the nerves. It's just a conversation. I'll ask you a couple questions and don't be nervous. Don't take it as a test because that will really work your nerves. So he was really nice, and he made basic conversations before that to make me really comfortable before starting to ask me the questions. And yeah, that's how my experience went.
Yeah, and I saw that there was a question about, whether any interviews are happening remotely. And right now, all the citizenship interviews are happening at the local offices. So all applicants have to go to a local office to be interviewed. In some cases, they're beginning to pilot doing them by video, but the applicant still has to be in the office. They'll just be in a separate room from their examiner and communicating via video through an iPad. So in that way, it's remote because you're not sitting in the same space, but you still have to go to the office. And that's the way it's being done locally right now. I see a question about why so many green card holders don't naturalize, even if they're eligible. And that's a great question. And there have been a number of studies kind of addressing this question. One of the big hurdles certainly is the English and civics exam, especially the English exam for some. And then the cost is also significant. Even though we have a fee waiver available right now, and I should have mentioned that about 3/4 of all applicants that MIRA helps in the process qualify for and receive a fee waiver. So it's a significant portion of the folks that we assist will qualify for the fee waiver. But a lot of people don't know that a fee waiver is available or are unsure whether they might qualify for it. And so don't know that that's there as an option. So I would say those are largely the biggest hurdles. That and sometimes simply feeling overwhelmed by the process. Even if you think that you want to apply for citizenship and you're able to get your hands on a copy of the application and you see that it's 20 dense pages of questions and don't have, the benefit of a lawyer or a community organization that can help you with that process, it can feel very overwhelming. So I would say those are the largest hurdles. And I will pose this to you as a last question, Delis. What, or are there any words of wisdom or advice that you would give younger people that are going through the process right now of applying for citizenship?
Yes, I would stay focused and stay determined, and really try to tackle those goals as you go, because you only have one chance to be young and one chance to really overcome what you have to overcome to be able to be an adult. Um, I've always been very determined into going to school. I've always been into school. I've loved reading, writing, all that. And if you're a person that is not really into that, I would say try to look for what interests you and work towards that. And if you are a scholastic person like me, I would say really focus and try your best in school and really try to keep those good grades, because they do come a long way and they do advocate for you in so many situations.
Those are some great words of advice. Well, thank you so much, Delis, and thank you again, everyone, for joining us and for your continued support of MIRA. And we look forward to continuing this partnership.
Yeah.